So I'm going to give my thoughts now about now for something completely different. So I was finally able to see this film. This is a movie that some people, very few people, have too much interest in. But it was a movie I was very hyped for. I found out about this quite late, and was very excited when I found out that it was going to be having a release near at my local theater. This is a film that was directed by Martin McDonagh, also was the writer. This guy has done some of my favorite dark comedies. Probably my favorite of his work is In Bruges. He did the film In Bruges. If you've never seen it, it's phenomenal, because I was happy to find it. Also, it was released on 4K. So this movie right here, maybe you've seen the cover for it, but it's phenomenal. Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson, Ralph Fiennes, all in it, and it's one of the best dark comedies that I've ever seen. So I found out that he was making Banshees of Inisherin, and it was coming out this year, and that once again Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell were going to be starring in it. And so I was like, okay, dark comedy, or rather in this case it says black tragic comedy. And I was watching the special features for it, and I think one of the actors, one of the persons, I forget whether it was the director or whether it was Colin Farrell, described to say the first movie that they did together, right, In Bruges, was a dark comedy with dramatic, serious moments, whereas this one is a drama with black comedy moments. Because I will say, the first thing is, if you go into this as a fan of In Bruges, or if you've seen In Bruges, or if you liked In Bruges, you may not like this one as much if you're expecting that kind of film. Because this film, it has those comedic elements in it. And Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson work so perfectly together. Martin McDonagh was made very clear. He wrote this movie with these two actors in mind. He wrote these characters with only these people in mind. In fact, one of the characters played by Brendan Gleeson in the film plays the fiddle. And in real life, and I just found this out, in real life, Brendan Gleeson actually does play the fiddle. So there's parts of the film where you're seeing the character he plays, of Colm, playing the fiddle, and it's actually him. He's actually doing it. And I thought that, again, that was just incredible to see. This also stars Carrie Condon, who I've seen her in other things before, but I didn't recognize her completely. For those that she's the voice of Friday in various films from the MCU, but she was in Better Call Saul for a bit. Also, she was in Rome. I never got to see Rome. And then also Barry Coffin was in the movie as well. Most people probably will recognize him as he is the new iteration of the Joker from the Batman movie. That scene that got cut from the actual film itself. And he is a very, very talented actor as well. The first time I saw him was in a film called The Green Knight, another really interesting. I didn't like that one nearly as much as this one. So you have a wonderful cast of characters. The basic premise is that you have these two friends played by Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson. Brendan Gleeson's character decides he doesn't want to be friends with Colin Farrell anymore. He says, I don't want to be your friend anymore. And he asks, why? Why don't you be my friend? Because you're dull. It's basically like, I don't want to be your friend because you're dull. All our conversations are meaningless. You talked 2 hours the other day about what you found in your mini horse's poop. And I would rather spend the time writing music and doing other things other than wasting my time with you. And it's like, whoa, okay, that's harsh. Like within the first 10 minutes of the movie, you're like, okay, this guy's just ending the friendship. And the way Colin Farrell plays this role is brilliant, because the character is definitely not the brightest bulb in the bunch. He clearly is. When he says dull, he doesn't just mean boring. I think he's also indicating that he is just not a bright person. And it's very clearly the case as you watch his character through the film, because things happen that are very obvious to the audience that Colin Farrell's character takes just a little bit extra time to actually understand. And this is in the trailer, so I don't feel like it's really spoiling much of anything. But for those that maybe like to go into films, especially more indie films, blind, you may want to maybe pause for the, or mute for the next, few seconds. But Colin Farrell's character does not quite get it, continues to try to talk with him. He says, don't bother me anymore, or I'm going to do something drastic. And he decides, okay, if you bother me again, I'm going to start to cut off one of my fingers from my fiddle hand. And he ends up following through. And so it's just an interesting dynamic between these two, right? Of a friendship that has fallen away, something that I think all of us can connect with in some way, right? When friendships just fall apart. So you have that dynamic going on. You then also have this interesting backdrop where this is on a fictitious island. So it's supposed to be an island off the coast of Ireland, but it's fictitious. Inisherin, right? It's not a real place. Shot on Ireland, on location. By the way, the cinematography, all of the visuals for this film are freaking gorgeous. The one criticism I have is that there's an opening shot of Colin Farrell's character walking along the sea, and there's what looks to be a very fake rainbow. I was like, come on, you've got this beautiful background, this natural cliffs, natural water, this, again, the beauty of Ireland. And you're going to put this fake rainbow? Come on, man. Now, obviously, it was done to try and show, oh, his life is really great right now. Rainbows, sunshine. And then he finds out what's going on. And of course, that leads him, down, a very, dark path. All of these individual characters, though, they all have something to play, right? Even the very smallest of characters who have only brief lines, they have enough to where they have a clear character, a clear motivation. You know who they are. You know who they care about, what they care about. And it's always great in writing when you can pick up on those subtleties, right? When a typically supporting character that's in the background actually is a fleshed out character, but with very minimal screen time, that takes a very tempered hand. It takes a very it takes a very skilled hand to be able to pull that off. So you have all of these amazing actors going in together. This really incredible, dark, but also interesting story. Also with the backdrop of it being set during the 1920s, during the Irish Civil War. So off the coast, you're constantly hearing fire. You're hearing weapons, explosions, right? And all of it's also meant to be reflective of their friendship, right? Just as the peoples of Ireland were falling apart, right? We're breaking a relationship essentially. You have these two friends breaking this relationship. And the Banshees of Inisherin, this comes in because there is one character played throughout the movie who is this creepy old woman, but she's just a creepy old woman. And there are these moments where there's insinuations of her being something else, something more. There's a really beautiful shot. And I won't go into too much more detail on it because, again, I don't want to spoil too much about it. But this beautiful shot where you'll know what I'm talking about. It's on the cliffs. One, it's amazing because it's on the cliffs and you're like, oh my goodness, this is an actual on-location, non-CGI shot. Oh my goodness, amazing. And you see something in the background and you know exactly who it is and what it is. And you're like, I see what you're doing here. So this film has so much going for it. And I'm so happy. Again, shout out to Searchlight, who did send me a review copy via digital download. It is available today on digital download. However, of course, I am not being paid for this review, and they did not have to approve this review before giving it. So these are my honest thoughts about it. And I've been honest about how the first time I saw it in theaters, I did fall asleep. But I also mentioned that it wasn't because of the film itself. It was because of me. I fall asleep in movies. It happens. I remember I fell asleep during Scorsese's Silence, saw it again, and now it's one of my favorite modern Martin Scorsese films. And so if you go into it knowing that this is going to be a drama with black comedy elements to it, I think you will be prepared for the pacing of the film, which is very well paced. It's not overly long either. It's about 114 minutes long, so just under 2 hours. And again, it is honestly just so refreshing. And if for anything else, just to see the beauty that is Ireland. It's so sad to see what's going on in that country today. All the changes that they've gone through, socioeconomically, politically, etc. But it's nice to know that you can kind of look at these things and say it's still a beautiful place. And this one frame you see on screen right now, this poster, I think also really encompasses the emotions of it, right? You have these two people, one of which wants to leave the other one behind, thinks the other one is a drag on their life, and the other one doesn't want to let it go. Right, you see that almost already. You can see in this poster that sense of longing, right, of that other friend, and it's fantastic. It is absolutely fantastic. Interesting here, I don't follow a lot of the award shows because screw those. Apparently, it leads. Well, that actually makes me happy. It leads. Not that the Golden Globes matter. 8 nominations to the Golden Globes, including Best Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. It always makes me laugh when those two are put together because musicals are not necessarily comedies. And also, this film is a drama. There are comedic elements to it, dark comedy, but this film is absolutely a drama. This is how they're able to get all these... Again, if you don't know what the Golden Globes are, they are a way for the Hollywood foreign press to get as many stars to show up as they can. That's why there was a terrible film starring Johnny Depp years ago called The Tourist that got nominated, and everyone was like, how the heck did this film get nominated? Oh, that's right. They wanted Johnny Depp to show up to the awards. Very different time if you compare that to today's world. But anyway, Ben Davis, phenomenal job. Interesting, he has done works like Kick-Ass. He also did Hannibal Rising. He also did Guardians of the Galaxy, Age of Ultron, Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel, and Eternals. Very interesting list of films there. Some good, some not so good. But I can confirm that the cinematography for this film is beautiful. It is very well put together. It only made $19.4 million. Don't know what the budget is for the film. I imagine it's probably quite small. But I can say this. If you've ever seen anything by Martin McDonagh, you know that you are going to be getting a well-crafted film. A film that is worth your time and is one that you will most likely enjoy. So I would highly encourage you to go see this film. I will give this film an A-. I think that there's a lot to like about it. I definitely think that there are moments where the story does slow, but luckily those moments are purposefully done. And in the long run, they help set up for and help create an atmosphere that feeds into the moment, that feeds into the emotion of the actual moment itself. And I love how I love when directors and writers are able to use time and space in such a way where they become a part of the character of the film. And having, again, the beautiful coast of this island off the coast of Ireland is also just quite phenomenal. So an A-. Strongly would recommend people to check this out if they can. And again, it's on digital media. I really hope and pray that it gets a fully featured physical media release soon. Obviously, this thing is still getting, still in theaters, as it says right here. The film was released on rental PVOD today and is scheduled. Okay, good. Scheduled to be released on Blu-ray and DVD on December 20th from 20th Century Studios Home Entertainment. The film was released on Disney Plus as a part of the Star Content Hub in Canada, for those wondering. Sad that it's not going to get a 4K release, though. I would actually really love to see the images on screen in the full 4K. And now for a huge special shout out to all of my November Patreon Subscribe Star and Locals members at the Keeper of the Bifrost level and above. Starting off with Patreon with Father Luca Illich. Thank you very much, Father. Garrett Searles, Jaimir Irie Hymason, Joe Horn, Jonathan Carney, Laura, The Modern Major General Story, Orange Hat Reviews, who you can check out on YouTube at his channel, Orange Hat Reviews, Rosetta Allen, who also has a YouTube channel that you can check out at Eagle Writer, and Miss Martin Muses, who also has a YouTube channel, Miss Martin Muses, and of course the amazing Empress of the Universe, Tina B, who you can check out at her YouTube channel, Tina B, where she hosts the show with Stephanie B, one of my mods, and one of my Valkyrie, called Soup to Nuts. Check out Soup to Nuts, and it premieres pretty much every Friday. So again, shout out to all of my Patreon people, also to all my Subscribe Star people, starting off with Matt317. Check him out on Twitch at Matt317. The R, Fast Reaction, Mr. Roy, J-Rod, the Beer Guru, and ZK-Man. And ZK-Man you could check out over at xtheboundaries.co to follow him as he starts his podcast and also for many of his musical musings as well. Check him out. Very, very talented guy. And then lastly, my locals peeps. We got Miss Minnesota Hockey Fan. How about a hockey player? UAB Mad Dog Mike Jackson for the win. J.H. Schwalbach, Brett D90, and the amazing lawyer Robert Barnes. Thank you all so very much for supporting me. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, go ahead and check out the top link in the video description below where you get access to that. Also, you get access to special things like giveaways and also exclusive podcasts that I do with John the Flickpick Flickinger and other guests throughout the month of November and in the previous and the months to follow as well. And again, if any of that sounds interesting to you, especially the 4K giveaways, Steelbook giveaways, some of them that I have to give away this month are films like Starship Troopers on 4K Steelbook, Top Gun Maverick on 4K Steelbook, amongst many others. If that sounds interesting to you, check out the link and follow the instructions down below. Anyway, you guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.